Hey, how's it going everyone? This is Brendan Bias from Jujeka.com and welcome to another Photoshop tutorial. For this week's tutorial, I'm going to show you guys how to create Steam by hand in Photoshop. And this can be in any version of Photoshop, whether you're in Photoshop CC or way back in like Photoshop 7. You should be able to do this regardless of the version of Photoshop you're working with and regardless of your experience of Photoshop, because this is actually a very simple process. It's just kind of repetitive and maybe a little bit boring depending on your taste in workflow and stuff like that. But personally, I find this kind of fun to do. The process is something that I personally had never tried before, and I thought it would be kind of fun for you guys to learn yourselves because it really teaches you a lot as far as blending a whole bunch of randomness and stuff like that. So hopefully you guys enjoy this tutorial as we go. So what do you say we make our new document here, and I'll just call this our Steam tut, and I'm going to stick with my favorite resolution of 1920 by 1080 with a 72 ppi resolution here. And you can make your background contents either white or transparent. It shouldn't really matter. But I'm going to actually do my background color because I already have that set to the cool blue color that I have, and I'll hit OK. And let's zoom into canvas size here. And for those of you that want to use the same color of blue that I'm using 47A2FF. And it's just that cool, that sky blue that I came up with there. And let's see, let's start off by creating a new layer here. And this is going to be kind of like our guide. And for this, let's go to our brush tool by hitting the letter B. Let's have our opacity to like maybe 15 or 20%. And make sure you right-click your document and make sure your hardness is up to 100%. And just for the record, if you guys don't know this trick already, you can size up your brush tool by hitting the right bracket key on your keyboard, or you can scale down your brush by hitting the left bracket key. So there's going to be a whole lot of resizing going on as you're doing this, so that's actually going to be really handy for you guys to figure out. And all we're going to do for the time being is simply draw a line that's going to represent the direction of the steam. And let's just do just a very simple kind of S shape like so. Obviously, if you want to do something a little bit different, you can trace over that and maybe have it go up a little bit more. Just kind of get an idea of where you want your steam to go. And if you don't want this to be like overly intrusive as far as like kind of getting in the way of the design, then just kind of put down the opacity until it's, you know, just barely visible, and that way it's kind of there, but it's also not in the way. So let's make our new layer here, and this is going to be for our actual steam here. And before we actually create anything, let's open up the brush panel off to the the right-hand side over here. If you don't have that, just go to Window, and you can find Brush, or you can hit F5 on your keyboard. So the only thing we're going to do here is make sure, once again, we have our hardness at 100%. Right now I have the spacing set to 5%. I don't think that matters too much. And also toggle the shape dynamics and put your size jitter between 40 and 50%. That's just a little something that I find kind of helpful as we go along to kind of randomize the size of the brush. So again, making sure that your opacity is between like 15 and 20%. Let's just start off with a really small little dot in the lower left-hand point, and then just simply kind of randomly size up and size down your brush as you go along your path here. And just for the record here, guys, don't expect to do this perfectly the first time around. And also, it doesn't matter too much if you overlap your bubbles or anything like that. Just simply click and make it up as you go. This is like 5th grade or maybe even like 1st grade art kind of going on here. Just make a whole bunch of bubbles, all right, and just make them randomly sized. And as you do this more and more, you'll start getting a better feeling for how it is you should like size up your brush and scale it down and kind of intertwine the bubbles and stuff like that. So don't beat yourself up if it doesn't like look great the first time around, because we're going to be going back and forth between the next step in doing this a whole bunch of times. So this can look as random and stupid as you want. It's just random and fun. So when we start getting towards the end here, I'm gonna make like some rather large bubbles and stuff, and let's also kind of throw in a bunch of small ones as well. Like I said, there's no real art here. It's just kind of random and such. And actually, to a certain degree, the more you overlap, the merrier. And you will see why as you experiment with this more and more. So we're starting to get something that's maybe a little bit too bright, maybe a little too many bubbles going on here, but it's not too big of a deal. As long as it kind of looks good as far as the overall shape that we have going on. And I kind of like the direction I'm going on with the bubbles and such. So let's move on to the second step, which is to go back to our eraser tool. And the eraser tool, like the brush tool, is going to be set to a hardness of 100% and make your opacity roughly the same. So I'll put that back to 15% for the opacity. And the goal with this eraser is to go through and erase all of these harsh edges and overlaps to kind of make everything like more like one overall shape here. So let's just kind of go through and kind of get rid of where all these bubbles are overlapping and such. And if you think that you're kind of getting rid of too much and you see too many like eraser parts, don't really worry about it, because the goal here is to go back and forth numerous times and just create layer upon layer of these like these white bubbles, and then erasing them. And overall, the effect that you get is that overall steam that we got before. So give me a few minutes to go through and more intricately erase the edges of these bubbles here, and I will be right back. Alright, so I went to town on this thing and I erased a whole bunch of it, and that's in a sense that's actually a good thing that I erased like so much of this, because for one thing, I helped all of the different random bubbles and stuff kind of blend together a little bit, and at the same time I created this layer of randomness that you would normally see in clouds or noise or anything of the sort. And that is the goal, is to create like a whole bunch of overlaying layers of randomness to achieve that steamy and smoky effect that looks more natural than what you would normally make. And before we go on to the next part here, let's actually go to the guide and just trash that entirely, because we are actually already making a very good I don't know, we already have the overall style of the steam here ready and set to go, so I don't really think we need it anymore. So next up, we're basically just going to repeat exactly what we did. However, I might dumb down the opacity of the brush to like 12%, something a little bit more, something a little bit with less opacity, just because now it's going to start stacking up on top of the existing bubbles, and it's going to get brighter a lot quicker. So now we have our brush toned down just a little bit. Let's go through and once again start adding in our bubbles. except I'm doing this on the backgrounds. My bad. Let's go back to the Steam. There we go. And let's start adding in our bubbles once again. So, not seeing a whole lot of white going on here. Oh, that's why I'm still on the eraser. My bad. So, swapping over to the brush tool and not erasing a whole bunch of stuff this time. Let's add in our random bubbles. And this time I'm going to start targeting some of those darker areas. And, you know, just to kind of fill them in, because I did erase quite a bit. But of course, put the bubbles all over the heck. Whatever. Wow, I cannot talk while I'm doing this, can I? Maybe I should just shut up and make bubbles. Hey, that should be a freaking shirt. Shut up and make bubbles. I like it. I like it a lot. All right, so I'm gonna focus on making some more of the broader bubbles and stuff like that, just so that way we can lead into you know, this bigger plume that I'm gonna be making here up top. So let's do quite a bit of white this time. Normally I wouldn't go quite this drastic here, but you know what the heck? I don't think it'll hurt too much. We're starting to get kind of bright in general here, so I think what I might go ahead and swap back to the eraser and just kind of you know, repeat what I was doing before. Now, something that I didn't mention when I was erasing before, something that I like to do is to create a really large eraser over here. And what I like to do is, you know, take out a huge chunk of it, move back, click, move back, click, and just kind of do like a receding pattern. So that way it kind of like makes it fade just a little bit. And so, and then when you start fading it out on the edges like that, then you can really focus in on like the remainder of the bubble and just do a whole bunch of clicking, going back and forth on those edges, and really make it fade out. And in my opinion, it just creates this like really fluffy feeling to the cloud. I mean, sure, it's kind of a harsh edge from the brush and all that, but we can always go back in and add in more white. So it's not like we're doing anything that's, you know, like a terrible idea or anything like that. So let's make a pretty big subtraction here and go back in. And this actually, let's start dumbing down the opacity to more like 8%, so that way it doesn't hurt quite as much to get rid of some of these whites. And this is basically all you're going to be doing here, guys. You're going to be going back and forth between your eraser and your brush tool, adding and subtracting from the Steam here. And you're going to do this until you're either bored out of your mind or you are content with the result. And I understand how unappealing this might be to a majority of people that Photoshop out there, but for those of you that are like true artists or anything of the sort, I hope you guys can understand that, you know, some things just take time to do. And I guess that's one of those things that I want to teach you guys, is that sometimes you really should put time into a project, because those are the ones that you are most proud of, or the ones that you spent a whole bunch of time sitting at your computer working on. And even though you might have cried your freaking face off in the process just because it took so long to do, when you're done with those things, it just feels so good that you were able to, you know, sit down and accomplish something that didn't take, you know, 5 or 10 minutes of Photoshop work to do. So I really encourage you guys to at least try this out, solely for the sake of, you know, working on something that not only takes more time to do, but also teaches you something in the process. Like, something that I learned from this is, how was I going to say this? Like this gives me an idea of how to blend different things together. Like I was trying to say earlier, I had never tried to do anything of this sort before, as far as you know, adding and subtracting between the brush and the eraser. Because for one thing, I hate the eraser. I don't really like the destructive aspect behind it. But now that I've used it in this particular kind of project, I can see how it can be useful in, you know, certain circumstances and such. So I don't know. It gives me a different look on certain things as far as like the eraser and stuff like that, and how you can use it to your benefit in certain effects. I mean, look at this that we're getting here. I mean, I've been spending so much time just adding and deleting chunks. I guess I've spent more time deleting than adding in this case. But look at the effect that we are starting to create, and that's just with a whole bunch of erasing from existing like white areas and stuff. So I might go in and add one more layer of white just for the heck of it here, but this time I'm going to tone down the opacity of the brush to a ridiculously small 5%, just so that way it doesn't add too much to the existing smoke, but at the same time we can really create a whole bunch of randomness here. The real benefit to using a brush with a very small opacity is that because there's so little happening when you add in these spots, you can click around like crazy, and these random dots are going to come together in a very random fashion to create the brighter areas. So not only sure it takes a lot more time to actually create the same brightness that you would get if you were just using a larger brush. But since you have to click so many more times, and you automatically have this brush that's scaling itself up and down, that's creating a layer of randomness that you would just, it would require much more time to do if you were just gonna try and go back and erase it anyway. I have no idea if I'm explaining myself in a helpful way or a harmful way, but I'm trying my best here to talk as I click, and I think it's kind of taking away from both the logic that I thought I had and the overall effect that I'm trying to get. But let's. I really want to make this a little bit more more epic in size, up towards the top again. So let's really make this intense up here, because I don't know. I just think it'll be kind of fun to make this kind of crazy looking. And of course, let's make it blend a little bit more down here at the bottom. And let's make something like that. I'm really not entirely sure where I'm going with this, but let's go back to the eraser and try and smooth this out at least a little bit. I'm starting to take away maybe a little bit too much. Let's bring the eraser down to 5%, so that way it doesn't have as much of a dramatic effect when I erase from this. So let's start smoothing out these edges once again with with the eraser here. And I might actually kind of tone down this middle area because I'm starting to get some harsh eraser edges that I really don't want. And then I can go back in with my brush and fill those in and get some of that back. So this is something that I kind of found out that I can do as I was trying to create a smoke effect. Oh yeah, I totally forgot to mention that you guys should actually try, like if you guys are able to do this as it is and make some pretty cool like steam and stuff, what I was going to recommend you guys do is actually go and create a similar effect by using smoke. And I'll show you guys an example of what I did to actually create that in just a moment. It's the exact same process, but at the same time as adding in all these white brush strokes, you would actually add in a layer of gray at the same time. And I'll show you guys my result of trying that myself in just a minute here. I want to add in just a little bit more here, and hopefully this will look nice and snazzy. And let's just real quick go back to my eraser and smooth out these random little dots that I have left over. And I don't know if you guys can hear this or not, but I'm clicking like crazy on these edges, and it's not really having much effect. So I'll go back up to 8% and try and get rid of this. Come on, go away. So anyway, guys, I think I'm getting to that certain point where I've done quite a bit of adding and subtracting, and creating all these different layers of these different spheres and circles and stuff. And maybe I should just call it good, take a step back, and admire the work. But you know what? I'm just so much of a perfectionist that I just have to, put more time into it than I really ought to need to. So let's just take a look at what it is that we've got going on here. I would say that that's actually pretty decent. Definitely a lot better than the first set of Steam that I did. Not to say that it's bad looking by any means, but when I went and created the smoke, I had to make a lot more. I had to do a lot more work on this. So I guess it kind of taught me the better workflow on making this work. So let me show you guys just a little bit of a closer look here. What I did is, as I went, I swapped between white and some kind of like gray color. I think it was somewhere around here, around 575757, and I just kind of alternated between the two as I went up, and I did my best to kind of mix the two, which was again mostly thanks to erasing the middle areas and stuff like that. And also something that kind of helped as far as giving it that smoky color was I actually kind of used the eraser to make everything a little bit transparent, and then I simply put a layer of dark circles and just a few little dabs of white immediately underneath it to kind of fill in where it was lacking as far as having that dirty, like smoggy, smoky look. So anyway, guys, that's really all there is to this general this effect here. You just need to go back and forth between the brush and the eraser, and as you go and spend more time on it, it gives you a much better feeling of how you should go about like blending the two tools together to create this effect. And that's really all I have for you guys this week. If you enjoyed the tutorial, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, all that fun stuff, and I will see you next week. Peace out.